I learned what I liked and what I didn't like, and there's really only one way to do that, and it's through trying.
Just because you get out of college and start one thing doesn't mean that that locks you into that forever.
They've proven it's been really beneficial for our mental health to participate in creativity.
I saw the pain, I saw the shame, the not being able to talk to anybody.
This isn't something I asked for and I want to deal with, but I deserve to have an equal opportunity to others.
As so many women just toe the line. We're taught to put everybody's needs before ours. Welcome to Done Pretending, the podcast where healing meets authentic living. I am your host, Susan Houston, storyteller, mentor, and believer in the power of truth to set us free. This is your sanctuary for the soul, a safe space where we peel back the layers of judgment and fear to uncover the beauty of living real. Each week, you'll hear stories of courage, resilience, and transformation that remind you it's never too late to become who you were created to be. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Done Pretending. I'm Susan Houston, your host. And I just want to really invite you to share this with as many people as you can and follow us. You know, it's my purpose to help as many people around everywhere that need to hear this. Some people are going to learn something about themselves, maybe the way that they think about other people. Some people are going to hear that they're not alone in the world. And some people, hopefully all of us, will learn to take steps to make ourselves stronger and to stop pretending that everything's okay. Today, I am so thrilled to welcome someone that I consider my bonus daughter. Her name is Sage Homan-Muise. I've known her since she was, I think, 4 years old when my daughter pushed her off of a slide. And, when you're a new parent and something happens with your kid on the playground or wherever, you just automatically are like, because you never know how the other parent's going to react. Well, I looked over at Sage's mom, Penny, and she just laughed and she said, well, they'll figure it out. And I'm like, oh, I like her. And we have been fast friends ever since. So, Sage, welcome to Done Pretending.
Hi, thank you for having me, Susan.
I am so thrilled to have you. You and I've watched you grow up, but you've watched me grow up in a lot of ways too. We've been through a lot together. So, Sage went to college for a little while with my daughter up at Santa Cruz and then came back down to Southern California. And now you're up in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Yay. And so tell us what you're doing up there.
Yeah, I've been in Oregon about 5 years, and I lived in Bend for 4 of those years, and now I'm in Portland. And I have spent the last couple of years since college being an artist. So I was doing my own little art business for printmaking and learned a heck of a lot about myself and being a self-employed artist during that time. And now I'm in my later 20s and realized I needed a transition, and I am now in Portland, hopefully going to be going to grad school soon to eventually become a therapist. And right now I'm currently working at a mental health nonprofit called NAMI as a peer support specialist. And I really love my job and I really love helping people, especially those who are struggling with mental health problems. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to be fabulous at that. You said something about when you were in your 20s and a struggling artist that you learned a lot about yourself. Can you elaborate on any of that?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot they don't teach you in school about being an artist, and I had not really envisioned myself ever being an artist. It kind of came to be after I came home from Santa Cruz and I switched majors, and I kind of just was following this path of like, I just need to get my degree. So there wasn't a whole lot of preparation that went into diving into being an artist, but it taught me a lot about myself because it mostly is a business. And what I wasn't prepared going into that was how much self-discipline that would require, how much socializing, networking, people skills that would require. And I definitely struggled. I'm an introverted person. I'm not a business-oriented individual either, and I kind of naively, coming out in my, like, early, almost mid-20s out of school and was like, I'll just give this a try, and I'm really glad I did because I learned what I liked and what I didn't like, and there's really only one way to do that, and it's through trying. So, I learned that I love art, it's an invaluable part of my life, but I don't particularly want to survive financially off of it, and it kind of lost its spark for me over the years as I really had to make it more and more of a consistent income. And so I learned a lot about what my strengths were and then what I could apply my strengths to a career that would facilitate art as more of a hobby and less of a dependent, financial means.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. I'm still running a small business. It's just more of a side hustle as one would say, and I am trying to make art that feels more aligned with just myself and what I wanna make, less about what's going to sell and make me money, so that's been a good transition, but yeah, learned a heck of a lot, and I don't regret it at all. I mean, obviously, I still do art and have a passion for it, so it'll always be a part of my life.
As well it should, but I'm so glad that you tried it because you said something really important there. You said that unless you try something, you don't know if it's the right path, and it was the right path for you at that time.
Yeah,
One thing that I can remember telling my 2 girls, and I probably shared it with all of you guys too, was just because you get out of college and start one thing doesn't mean that that locks you into that forever.
right.
And I like to think of a lot of people say that life is seasons. Well, I like to think of it as more like a book, chapters, because you can have an endless amount of chapters. And that was a chapter for you to figure yourself out,
Yeah.
which for you to do that by your mid 20s is huge.
Yeah, I think in some ways I still struggle to feel like I'm not, where I should be for my age, but and then I talk to other folks who are older than me and have had long careers, and all of them have, even if they've only stuck with one career, they've had multiple, types of jobs and been in different roles, and nobody's had just one straight path. Yeah, that's how we learn and grow, so
It is. And, no, I just think you said it perfectly. It's not a straight path, it's learning and growing along the way. And what I admire a lot about you is you came to the realization and were brave enough to say, okay, it's time to switch. Where I'm in my 50s now, and it took me up until that point for me to say, okay, this passion of mine has been burning in the background, but I've never acted upon it. And now I'm going to act upon it. And maybe it just wasn't the right time. Maybe I like to think of the universe as God, and, maybe it just wasn't meant for me to do that then, but it is now.
yeah.
So yay. So tell me about this mental health thing that you're doing.
Yeah, it's an interesting role. Peer support specialists are not therapists, they're not medical professionals. They're people with lived experience who can provide a variety of support for folks who are typically usually people struggling with mental health issues. A lot of people are also struggling with substance use or addiction. And I just am somebody who comes with lived experience, and I use that lived experience to connect, give emotional support. A lot of my job is finding resources for people. My nonprofit offers a lot of really awesome peer support groups and family support groups. And then we're in connection with a lot of other agencies to provide kind of variety of resources, everything from like housing to government help to, medical help. And I play a variety of roles in peer support, being a peer support specialist, but ultimately, I really love working one on one with people. And my nonprofit that I work for has been really incredible. I work for NAMI Clackamas, which is a county in the Portland area, but it's more of a rural county because it encompasses a lot of rural communities. And so it has been great for me because living in Bend for 4 years was definitely more of a rural community, and I feel like those are more of my folks now. I
Uh-huh.
connect with them in a lot of different ways, and I am getting to start an art group, and so I will be facilitating an art group for folks who are in the area, who need kind of like a third space, who don't necessarily want to be talking about their mental health, but are in a room of folks they feel safe with who have maybe gone through something similar or just want to, connect. And I think art is a great way to do that. And they've proven it's been really beneficial for our mental health to participate in creativity. So I'm really excited to be doing that as part of my role there as well.
Oh my gosh, I think that's huge for you. I think that in itself is, it was the purpose of you going through all the art things that you did.
Yeah.
And by the way, she's an amazing artist. But so you talked about it being a peer support specialist because of shared trauma.
Yeah.
So, what do you feel leads to your success in that role?
Oh, a lot of different things. I think primarily it has been as kind of cliche as this sounds, it's been the struggles, that have led to this success. And not that I wish mental health issues upon anybody, but I sure as heck, like a lot of the times when I am struggling, I'm like, why do I have to deal with this? And every time I come out of those moments, it's like, I feel like it's to help others and I become stronger. I gain new skills and I really feel compelled to really, like, break a lot of the stigma we have around mental health, and so going through those things, I always feel like I come out with a passion for helping others go through something similar and realize their strengths and, support them when they're at, weaker moments, and yeah, it's been, oh, I have to give a lot of credit to my parents as well because I definitely went through a lot of struggles in my youth, and I was really lucky to have adults that I loved and trusted who were supportive and helped me seek the resources I needed. I mean, you were definitely one of those as my Girl Scout leader. You put up with a lot of my bullshit, and I wasn't totally in control of a lot of that stuff, but you and Mallory, like, really were just pillars of support outside of my, immediate family and kept loving me, and I feel like a lot of people don't have those folks in their lives, and so I can be a support for them now, and I'm really grateful, to have gone through that.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned the Girl Scouts. So I took both of the girls through Girl Scouts from the time that they were basically in kindergarten through high school. And I think about all the girls that were in both of the troops and how many of them did struggle. They struggled with health issues, mental health issues, so much.
Yeah.
And I didn't care.
Mhm.
I really tried, one, never to judge them and know that it's a growing experience. And I really feel like those, what was it, about 15 years helped me come to this point that I'm sitting here right now because I saw what a lot of you went through. I saw the pain, I saw the shame, the not being able to talk to anybody, the pretending like nothing was wrong when everything was falling apart around you guys. Not you necessarily, but and I just always wanted to be the rock. You know, I just wanted to be there if you needed me. Now, one of the things that I know that you went through as a kid was your eyesight. Tell me about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah. So they're actually still not 100% sure what is wrong with my eyes after all this time. But I was born with well, at the time when I was young, when I first got diagnosed with something, it was called congenital nystagmus. And it's basically an eye condition where your eyes are constantly wobbling. And that was, like, the first thing that kind of was an indicator that something was wrong. My mom caught it earlier than that, but I don't think they saw it at the doctor's office till I was about 5 or so, because I have a very mild case of it. It's hard to notice, and it's actually stabilized quite a bit over time as I came into adulthood. But essentially, I have low acuity, and what that means is I don't even with corrective lenses, I don't see clearly. I never will see clearly, and that's just how I was born. I don't know any differently. So to me, it's very normal, but it provided not provided, but it created a lot of challenges. Maybe provided, I don't know. It created a lot of challenges for me, especially growing up with we didn't grow up with a whole lot of technology as a product of a 90s baby, so school was a big challenge. Accommodations was a pretty big part of growing up in the school system, but I know we had
You
talked
faced that even in college though too,
Yes.
didn't you?
Oh, yeah, majorly. And what's interesting is because if you look at me, I don't seem disabled. You would
Mhm.
call it an invisible disability. Some like blindness is a spectrum, and some folks are, 100% blind. They can't see anything, they don't perceive light. But most people fall somewhere in between. And I'm not on the legally blind side. I'm a little bit less than that, but my vision fluctuates from day to day and depending on the conditions. And so as I got older, I definitely encountered some issues. We weren't sure if I was going to be able to drive. We weren't sure what school was going to look like. And again, my parents were super supportive and really advocated for my needs when I was very young. And then as I got older, had to learn to be my own advocate, usually in classroom settings.
Yeah, and how was that received that you being your own advocate? Because that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
As a teenager or a young adult, it's not something that we're really taught to do. We're kind of thrown into it.
Yes, exactly. And I think a lot of times when we're teens, we don't want to stand out. We want to kind of fit in.
Mhm.
And so I often struggled with kind of towing the line of like how much can I get away with not having to advocate, and then quickly learned that was to my own detriment, and I might as well just you know do what I need to do to best support myself. And it was very interesting because a lot of adults were understanding, and legally they have to, say that they're accommodating, but in practice, it looks a lot different, and especially through college, I would say the vast majority of instructors they don't understand, they don't remember, and I have to constantly self-advocate, like, even after I've given them my list of accommodations, I'm having to, on the daily, ask for their understanding, their support, and that definitely gave me a good lesson in determination, tenacity, not being embarrassed and really like standing for myself because ultimately like this isn't something I asked for and I want to deal with, but I deserve to have an equal opportunity to others.
Yeah.
And what really helped me, or especially early in college, was that I learned quite quickly that a lot of other folks struggling with disabilities don't have the ability to self advocate either. And so by me being able to, and especially having like an invisible disability, it helps others understand when we need accommodations to be
Yeah.
understanding and to just
You
have.
became a role model for a lot of people, I'm sure, unknowingly.
Yeah, and I think even if I'm not a role model, like, it's important that we continue to voice our needs, and especially, like, as women, we're taught to, be accommodating to others, and so if we're asking others to accommodate to us, it feels like we're a burden. Yeah, that was something that I really struggled with, I would say, through middle school, high school, and then college, I kind of said, "Well, if I wanna get my degree, I'm gonna have to ask for help," so and I did. Yeah.
Wow. You know, as so many women just toe the line, because we're taught to put everybody's needs before ours. That was the traditional female role in a family situation.
Yeah.
And I definitely fell into that.
Yeah.
So, and even I can remember even when the kids were little, I would go to different conferences or different groups, and they would say, you need to put yourself first too. But then someone else would say, no, it's your husband and your kids, and you need to do this, and you need to create the home for them, and you need to create the safe space for all of them.
Yeah.
And no one does it for you. So I think that's an incredible lesson that you learned in your 20s.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I do really have to credit a big chunk of that to my mother in so many ways breaks out of that like gender stereotype and those expectations. And I don't think typical moms, and it's not that it's their fault because we're socialized to be like this. I just don't think that they would have encouraged me to be unapologetic about it as much as
Mhm.
my mom has. And I'm extremely grateful for that because I think eventually I would have learned these lessons, but I think with the mom that I have had, I was able to kind of come into my own a lot earlier. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And that's a gift. Are you taking these lessons now to the people that your peers that you're working with in your job now?
Yeah, and you know what's funny is we all have these grand ideas of, what we can bring to the table, how we can help others. And what has been the most informative about this job is that people are pretty much mostly the same. We all want to be heard, we all want to be validated, we all want to be supported, to know that somebody sees us for us and they're not judging.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible, like, how far that support goes. We don't have to have the same, life experience, we don't have to have the same ideas, we don't have to have the same values. It comes down to seeing and appreciating their humanity,
And
and
becoming curious about them
yes,
and what they're struggling with instead of just immediately finishing the sentence and judging them
yeah,
for things we don't even know. We create this narrative before we know the complete story.
yes. Yeah, and it's been interesting because I've definitely had folks who have very similar trajectories and life experience to me. But what's even more interesting is I've seen people of all ages who we find a way to connect and share, laughter and support and can uplift each other's spirits. And at the end of the day, I think it's mostly just due to showing up for them and being there, in a very non-judgmental capacity. So
Yeah.
all of my skills went out the window in one aspect because, I'm not there to impart wisdom on them unless they
Mhm.
ask for it. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But it's been incredibly challenging and instructive on how to just be present with somebody and really understand what their needs are in that moment and put my own agenda aside.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that you're going to make a huge impact on the people that you're helping. And, it'll be interesting to see how that will transition as you get your therapists. Is it a credential? Is it a license?
Yeah, it's a licensure and it'll take me a while because you do have to do a bunch of hours. So you do hours while you're in school and then you do hours to receive your license. And so there's a couple years ahead of me of training and education, but I'm definitely hoping I can implement a lot of what I've learned from this role into a clinical setting because a lot of the folks that I have seen have had really negative experiences with the medical system. And it's taught me a lot about the kind of clinician that I would like to be, that I think we need more of. And
Yeah.
yeah, I've just been really grateful for this experience because I can bring a lot of these skills into that work environment.
Well, I think that's amazing. And I think you're going to connect with exactly the right people to work for and work with as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thanks, you're amazing. I've always thought you were amazing. But
Thank
just to hear you talk like this and to talk about all these lessons that you learn, it makes me want to cry. It warms my heart so much. And let's just say I'm a proud mama.
I'd like to say I'm incredibly proud of you and your journey. And, I've always known you're a very strong woman. You're very intelligent and determined. And, I've always known you can set your mind to a task and accomplish it. And I am also really grateful to have had you as a figure in my life and, not only as somebody who I know who is there just to love and support me as a mom, but, it's been incredible to become friends with you and
Yeah.
have this, like, adult relationship and
Let me tell you, it's
yeah.
weird for me because I haven't aged. And now you're kind of the age that I think in my brain that I'm still at.
Oh.
But it's all great. It's all great. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay. Gather myself here. So, Sage, if I'm going to put whatever contact information you'd like me to share in the show notes
Yeah,
in case people have questions or want to get a hold of you. And
yeah.
you have, is it a, what kind of shop is it? Etsy?
I have a Shopify account, so it's my own domain. Yeah, most people can find me on Instagram is usually my first point of contact. My last name is incredibly long, so my artist name is Sage Flannery.
Just
And
tell them what that comes from.
so my middle name's Flannery. And yeah, it's easier to remember. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap that up. So, thank you, Sage, for joining us. And I just am blown away by your wisdom
Oh,
and can't wait to share it with all of our listeners here.
yeah. Thank you for having me, Susan.
You are so welcome. Thank you for joining me on Done Pretending, where healing meets authentic living. If today's conversation moved you, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't yet, be sure to follow the show and leave a review. Your words help this message reach more hearts around the world. Remember, you are seen, you are loved, and your story has the power to set others free.